Buying your first car can be a mixed old experience, getting the money together, not buying a lemon, finding the car that feels right for you. Well, tonight we meet a young man who thought he'd got it just right, a good price for the car he wanted, wonderful, and then the repo man turned up. Why? How? He'd made his checks and he'd got the all clear. Richard Langston with a tale that seems really unfair but is also pretty cautionary.
It's one of life's moments for a 19-year-old when he buys his first car, especially when he's a student and he's worked part-time to pay for it himself.
To me, it was a great car. I loved it when I bought it.
The car, a 1991 Toyota MR2, cost David Desulavi $1,600. He went to Otaki on the Kapiti coast to buy it.
I bought it from a man named Tom Picken. At the time, he seemed very, very nice and very. He's doing a reasonable job of selling his car.
So David happily drives the car for 10 months, and then one evening, about 2 weeks ago, a repo man comes up the driveway, knocks on the door, and says, "I'm taking that car away. It's security against a loan that hasn't been repaid to a finance company. The finance company is selling the car off to regain its money." And David says, "What?"
Sure enough, there was a repo man there with saying there was a loan on the car, been used as collateral, and he was going to take it away. We couldn't do too much. He had all the documentation. He had a signed letter saying that Tom Picken had used the car as collateral for a loan, and the law was on his side. The police reassured us of that, and he took my car away.
Well, we were totally bewildered because we know David had checked out the car. He'd owned it for 10 months and there hadn't been any issues with it at all.
He'd spent $1,600 and several hundred more doing it up, and it was gone. It was back to borrowing his mother's car, and David thought he'd done everything right.
It had been insured. It was fully insured. It was all
Registered,
warranted. It was just going in for its new warrant.
I would never have thought of this myself. I would have bought a car and thought everything was fine, much like David did.
And for David, there would be another insult. If the debt was sorted out with the loan company, the car, by law, would not be released back to him, but to Tom Picken.
Yeah, the contract with the loan company says that the car was his, so if he pays the loan, the car that he put up for collateral is released back to him, and I don't get it back. So they take it from me and they give it back to him.
Even though you've paid him $1,600 for the car?
Even though I've bought the car off him, he gets it back.
The law doesn't protect the person that's done things the right way. The law protects the person who's done everything wrong.
So we went to see Tom Picken to see what he knew about David's plight. As it turns out, very little.
He's come to us, Campbell Live, because he's very upset.
I imagine he would be, yeah.
That his car's gone.
Yep.
But you should have told him when you sold that car.
I should have.
And you didn't?
I did not. Nope. Yes, exactly right, yeah.
So why didn't you tell him?
I don't know. It was a stupid thing to do. No, you're right. But I'm dealing with it as quickly as possible to get that done now. Yeah, that's right.
If you can manage to get that car released,
yeah.
Do you know who it's released to?
Him.
No, it's released to you. That's the law.
Well, we can fix that at the same time. Well, if by law it gets released to me, I'll just sign the papers over to him and give him the car. He bought it from me, it's his car.
David did do basic checks on the car's history, but not one vital one, a search of the personal property security register held by the Ministry of Economic Development and by websites like CarJam.
And this is why it's so important to actually do these checks and pay the extra $10, as you've said, to get this information, because if there is a registered debt on the car, it doesn't matter about what you might say about I bought the car not knowing, it won't bother the finance company. They will repossess your car, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
David might yet get his car back. Tom Picken says he never intended to rip him off.
Would you be happy to give David his money back?
Well, I guess I'd have to, yeah. I guess it's my my fault for not seeing that in the contract and all the rest of it? Yeah, I guess so.
And if he buys another car with that money, he won't make the same mistake.
I'll be most prudent in all the car checks that I do from now on, more so than I was before.